Welcome, folks, to our very first episode of 2021. Welcome to the Live Cook channel, and I'm your host, Pete Goffe-Wood. Well, it's great to have you with us this evening. Please let us know whereabouts you are in South Africa, where you're cooking and who you're cooking with. We've got a brand new series for you, a brand new year, but as such, we will still be cooking along with the top chefs of South Africa, and tonight is probably no exception. Probably better than most known. I would imagine tonight's chef is probably the most recognized chef in South Africa at the moment. He needs very little introduction. Mr. Reuben Riffel. How are you, Reuben?
Pete, very good to see you as always. I'm very well, and I'm happy that tonight I can focus on the cooking. Normally I've got to do everything, but I'm glad to have you here, and good to see you.
So, Rube, tell us. We know where your influence comes from and your love of fennel. Tell us about the dish you're cooking tonight.
Okay, Pete. So tonight we're cooking roasted hake and prawns. And I'm serving that with a spicy jalapeno and lime linguine. And we're going to make a sauce, and that's where I'm going to infuse the fennel into. So we're making a fennel cream sauce to go with that.
For those of you who've done this before, you already have your water boiling. You would have packed out your ingredients. But for those of you cooking for the first time, Rube, why don't you go through what's in the box for people tonight?
Okay, Pete, so I'll go through the main ingredients for the dish tonight. So we have Barilla pasta, and we're using linguine. You know, the great thing, I mean, you would know, it's always great to use fresh pasta, but you can never get it al dente. And this is a very good pasta. I use it quite a lot at home, so I'm using that. Then my friends at Robertson's have added the paprika.
Robertson's goes to the ends of the earth to discover, source, and masterfully craft the finest herbs and spices. Ground from sweet red peppers, Robertson's paprika adds a dash of brilliance to any dish.
Then we have Parmalat, did the cream for us.
Fantastic.
We have Grana Padano or Parmesan cheese, hard cheese. Our lime, so we're using the zest and the juice. Jalapeno chili to give that a little bit of spice, of course.
Nice bit of zing, yes, excellent.
And then in our little sachets, we have the Pernod, and that's where the fennel comes from, as well as some fennel seeds. And then we have some white wine.
Very sexy.
And then, very sexy. And then, of course, there was a few additions in the box, but let me just finish off with this beautiful product. This is from Pescaluna, our hake and our prawns. Also a company that I've been working with now for a couple of months. They just do excellent seafood. And I see them in the next couple of months, just going from strength to strength, especially in South Africa. I mean, they've been exporting this amazing stuff to Europe for a while now, and they're going to continue that, but the quality is just amazing. So I'm really happy to be working with them. Fantastic. And then there was a few other surprises in there, of course, Pete, that
yes,
is just for a little extra, basically.
Well, we've got this magnificent, the Marvello butter flavor. For those of you who want to use this, if Reuben's going to be using butter in his recipe, but feel free to use this. And then I've already tucked into a little bit of my my Sally Williams nougat. So I'm going to make sure we get that on the screen. There we go. So it's looking good. And of course, who couldn't go wrong without a nice glass of bubbles, especially when we're doing some seafood? This is some fantastic bottle of Van Leeuwen Absolute Zero non-alcoholic sparkling wine. Could have done with this a lot of this during the recent lockdown. So, well, cheers to that. So, Rube, we are ready to start some cooking. It's the reason we're here. So, your roasted hake and prawns, spicy jalapeno linguine with fennel cream. Take us away, Maestro.
Okay, so I've got my Saucepot here, and to that, I'm adding my fennel and my white wine.
Cool.
Okay, Pete. So what I'm going to be doing is I'll reduce that by half, just to infuse a bit of that fennel flavor into the wine, and then I think it's also a good time. I'm sure everyone has already boiled their water, so it's a good time just to get our pasta in as well. So I've seasoned it. Normally, how I explain it is, if you season the water, you just want to you want to taste the salt in the water. That's it. So I add my linguine in just like that. It will start to soften at the bottom. It's got enough time to cook properly. I don't worry about like I've seen some people break the pasta in half just so it all goes in there. No. But that's the way I normally cook it, and it comes out beautifully. Yeah. So now my cream goes in. And I love using Parmalat cream, really good quality cream. What you want to do is just bring the cream up. It's going to boil, so you have to be careful at this stage, obviously, because it can boil over. So I'm going to watch it and then whisk it as it goes down. What I want to get to is a nice consistency where it starts to thicken up. And this is what I mentioned earlier with the guys that's cooking for 4 people. It might take a little bit longer, but let it come up. It will sort of like boil, and then it's going to want to come over. Then just reduce the temperature, like what I've done here now. That can come up maybe a little bit more. And then I just want it to thicken up a little bit, and before we add the other ingredients. Just quickly back to the pasta piece. Also, it should take about 8 to 10 minutes to cook al dente, but that's what my recipe says, and I know we always talk about it, but just see what's happening in front of you. You know how you want your pasta to be cooked. I obviously want it al dente, but as you know, there's also 10 different types of al dente. I don't want it to be undercooked. I want it to be cooked with a slight bite to it. I'm going to add my Pernod. Now, some people will ask, and maybe you will ask as well, Pete. So it's obviously got the alcohol in it, and sometimes you can burn it off. But when you boil and cook like this as well, the alcohol also sort of
it's going to evaporate,
burns off in a way. So again, once you add the Pernod, just allow it to cook a little bit down. I'll sort of reduce it slightly again. I know the recipe doesn't specifically say that, but again, I want to get to the right consistency and not overly thick. You want kind of like a elegant sort of light sauce. And a lot of times in the restaurants, we make these type of sauces and we kind of like whisk it up, either using a hand whisk or a hand blender, for example, froth it up a little bit. But I know some people also like their sauces slightly thicker, and this is where you can use tiny little bit of corn flour if you want to do that. Maybe you want to use this sauce for just another dish completely. Okay, Pete, the butter's going to go in. And then as that goes in, you just want
to whisk it. So the butter needs to go in cold. So you're whisking in cold butter, basically. You haven't melted the butter and poured it in. You're actually whisking blocks of butter. Okay, cool.
So, I would actually add, the colder the butter, the better. And that will just help
Why is
to
that?
give you sauce. When you add the butter, when it's sort of already slightly almost melted, it doesn't have, the sort of emulsion in the butter. What you want is to froth up together with a hot sauce instead of just melting completely and the oil lying on top of it. So basically, you want to add cold butter It melts slowly. You give it a whisk, and it incorporates better into the sauce. Okay, and then once we add the butter, I'm gonna remove my pot, and then we're just gonna, you don't need to keep it warm or anything. I'll just put it here to one side. We'll just reheat that up. So onto the prawns quickly, the seafood. So initially we, normally I use these prawns and they have sort of like the heads on. In this case, the heads are off. Really beautiful prawns.
Right. Yeah.
But if we're gonna cut them open, I'm scared that we're gonna squash them. So I'd rather just peel them. So I'll show you.
Okay.
It's quite easy to do it.
That makes sense.
Just from the bottom side up. Yeah, and then it'll still be very good. It'll in some cases will be even slightly nicer. But I'm gonna, just for decoration purposes, I'll keep the sort of tail on like that. And then what I did was I just sort of cut them on the back. I hope you can see that. So just sort of on the back, I just cut them open a little bit. For me, it kind of like makes the prawn even appear a little bit bigger. I know we eat with our eyes. If the prawn looks bigger and it looks more, I think it'll be even more tastier. And basically, it's slightly quicker like that as well. Okay, firstly, I'll say the reason we changed it was on the recipe, it said it's prawns with the heads on. These are without the heads. So instead of then butterflying them like that, I just feel we're going to squash them a little bit. If normally you'd cut from the head and then you cut down, it will be much easier. But in this case, without the heads, I decided for us just to rather peel them. So I just do them from the bottom side. They come off very easy, just like that.
Cool.
So you go all the way to sort of like the tail, and then we can leave the tails on, but they're very easy to peel. And then all I do is I cut them just over the top, just open, almost like halfway through. And then you can sort of clean it out if there's little bits in there still. And that's all we're doing. That's how it comes out.
Yeah, perfect.
Now we with the hake. Now, as you know, hake is quite delicate. I'll sort of like go a little bit slow here, but I've just kind of dried the hake especially on a bit of paper towel. And this is just to get it as dry as possible before it goes into the pan. And this kind of like helps you to almost get some color on the fish once it hits the pan without that sort of extra moisture that's normally on there. So I'm going to start with a little bit of olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
So you just want a
so
nice heat going.
Pan there.
Yeah. See, that's something we always talk about. It's basically, this one is a non-stick pan, stick base. So the great thing about these pans are once the fish hits the pan, it doesn't lose too much temperature. Because if you have a pan that's kind of like too thin and it loses temperature once the fish hits it, that's when the fish sticks to the pan.
A nice one, Sonia. They chop profusely before the time. We like to see a bit of prep, bit of mise en place being done. Excellent.
Nice,
skin
Sonia.
side down. Is there any? What is the reason why we do skin side down, Reuben?
Yeah, hake. Normally with hake, you'll struggle slightly to get sort of a very crispy skin, but you're obviously going to try as much as possible. And to be able to do that, I normally feel you need to have a clean pan. So as you start away, I'm going to work a little bit more on that skin side before I'm going to flip it over to the other side. And the other side, we're just going to give color. So most of the cooking is going to happen on this side as it is now, and then quick flip over. And I'm actually going to take it out by the time I get nice color, and the residual heat will just going to, cook the fish nice and soft.
Carry on cooking it, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, our hake fillets are not too fat, so I think that should work perfectly.
Oh, that looks nice.
Okay, so I flipped my fish over. Now I'm going to bring the temperature down a notch, and then I'm going to add some butter to my pan.
Okay, wow.
You know, so the butter will kind of like go slightly nutty, and that will just all add some extra flavor to this to the hake.
And that will also help the skin crisp up as well, wouldn't it, Rube?
Exactly. So you've done that little bit of work already to crisp it up. So this will just, you know, enhance it and give some extra flavor and crisp it up even more. Pizza now, they're kind of halfway through, so I'm going to start adding the prawns to the pan as well. So they're going to go straight in. We're using a little bit of smoked paprika, but just on the pasta once we get there, Pete.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a question here from Foodie Wicked SA. Did you add flour to both sides of the fish?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and that's just to stop it sticking in the pan, correct? Gives a nice little, nice bit of crunch to it, but also to stop it, prevents it from sticking to the pan.
And it was a tiny bit, you know, just like little sprinkle that I put on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to remove my hake.
Absolutely glorious.
So the hake I'm going to remove, I can just feel it. It's close to being completely cooked, but I don't want to finish cooking it in the pan, as it will obviously continue cooking. You know, that remaining time before we start plating up.
Yeah, and it is such a delicate fish hake as well that you really can get away with it. Carry on cooking once you've taken it off the heat.
Okay, so I'm going to flip the prawns. I have to say they're smelling amazing.
It looks, from where I'm sitting looking down into your pan, Reuben, I have to say, it looks absolutely gorgeous. It really does. Nice bit of color on those prawns there. It is looking super
beautiful
sexy.
Color.
Dude. It really looks good, yeah.
Beautiful color, and then also that butter, if your temperature is too high, and if it was only the butter, the butter would definitely go too dark, and it will probably go past nutty and where it starts to burn. So mine is on kind of like medium heat at the moment, and I think they're just about done. And I'm going to remove them, and then we can quickly get into.
Again, the theory with the prawns is the same as the fish. They're going to continue cooking when you take them out of the pan. So you don't want to have them perfectly cooked. You want them just a little bit under so that they continue to finish off themselves. People always forget that the food it's still hot, so it's going to continue cooking.
Yeah. And then I'm going to chop my garlic. It shouldn't take too long. Now, this is something I have to say that I kind of overuse sometimes, you know, the zest of the lime or the lemon. And not only when it comes to, seafood dishes, I also use it many times with kind of salsas that goes with kind of meaty dishes as well. So you can leave some of the seeds in if you like sort of more hot chili, you know, be my guest. You can leave some of that in. I'm gonna feed this to my kids afterwards. So one of them is not so keen on chili, so I'm taking it out.
But also, jalapenos are not particularly hot chilies. I mean, a general for those of you who don't use a lot of chili, a general rule of thumb is that the larger the chili, the less fire it's got. When you start to get the smaller ones, as they start to get smaller and smaller, so they intensify in heat. That's a general rule of thumb. So jalapenos are considered mild in the sort of chili scheme of things.
Yeah.
So just some chili flakes would do the trick.
Chili flakes is perfect, yeah. I mean, that's now if you just want to do a quick little pasta with some chili, We're going to add our olive oil to our pan again. So we're not just going to be frying. This is actually the oil that we're going to use to kind of fold through our pasta.
Okay.
So, you know.
So we're more infusing than frying.
We're not frying. We're basically infusing. So this is somewhere where we have to be quite careful not to heat our oil up too much. You should be able to still touch the oil without burning your finger. Okay. That's kind of like the temperature we're going for. And the oil, the garlic is going to go in. So we're not even waiting for the oil to heat up because we're going to bring that heat up anyway. And then these chilies were quite big, so I'm not going to use all of them.
Mm-hmm. See, people are getting ahead of themselves here. I think Therese says she's having trouble stopping hubby tasting the fish. Roberto, hold on, dude. If you think it tastes good now, wait till she finishes the whole dish off. Then you're really going to taste some serious stuff.
So yeah, as you can see, Pete, there's no. I'll quickly seal it as well. I'll increase it slightly. So, you know, if you get a little bit frustrated and you think, I want to fry it, I want more heat, just give it a chance. Just let it sort of infuse. You'll start to smell it, but don't let it fry because that's just going to kill it. You know, it's not the flavor that we're after for this dish. Okay, so I'm just going to get my pasta out here quickly.
So how are we doing, folks? I have to say I haven't seen one comment that people are being left behind. So you must be going at a great pace for everyone to keep up, Rube. That's fantastic. I'm assuming everybody is where you are and that we're heating up our seasoned oil. So we're getting slowly ready to start finishing the dish off.
Okay, so my chili I'm going to put there. My parsley goes in. The zest.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to do some of the juice, obviously. And now my pasta is nice and warm.
Just keeps looking tastier and tastier.
And now,
okay, are you about ready to plate up, Rube? Are you going to? Okay, are you going to put the pasta?
Not completely. I'm going to finish the pasta quickly, please, and then because we want to do here is obviously
just dress the pasta. So basically, you put the pasta back in the hot water and warm it through, and then bombed it into the infused pan with all those fresh ingredients.
Yeah, I just use the same. I use the same water I boiled it in because you don't want to heat it up in another way. I kept that water that I strained, and then I just heated it up in there quickly. Your pasta must be warm already, basically. I'll add a tiny little bit of salt here, and you know now this is maybe another thing that people say you can't do. Well, I've heard it a lot of times, but we are going to be using cheese with our pasta, even though we're serving it with seafood. It is totally allowed.
Okay. Yes. Oh, if you say so, Rube. There are Italians that are turning in their grave, but never mind. Sorry, a question from Franklin. When do we add the teaspoon of paprika that goes into your seasoned oil, my friend? In with your garlic, in your chilies. That's when you add your smoked paprika. Yes, I see that Lydia and Elise are tucking into the booze. We are drinking some Valera Brut Special Dressage, perfectly complement with this dish. Well done, girls. Please leave some pasta for me. Great stuff.
Okay,
I mean,
so we're basically ready to plate.
I mean, you could eat that pasta on its own as a fantastic dish. Just like that would be bloody tasty, wouldn't it?
This is how I like my pasta. I actually have this either just like that or with chicken. But I love having it just like that. You know, like a weekday lunch, that's what I go for.
Yeah, it's perfect, huh? I mean, it's going to be fantastic with the fish and the prawns and the cream sauce. But that I think is going to be great.
Okay, Pete, my sauce is done here. I'm just going to put some of the fennel prawns. Basically, I'm just going to break it in there. I need to actually
Okay, yes.
So the fennel, and remember, we never seasoned it, so you can add a little bit of salt to your sauce as well. You don't need to chop it, so basically just off the prawns like that. That's perfect. Tiny bit of salt, and then we're going to plate up. Just a nice whisk.
Fantastic. As part of the world's largest food and beverage company, Nestlé Professional is passionate about supplying you with branded solutions that are creative, customized, and commercially viable. For a full recipe, visit the screen, the link on screen now if you want to knock up that gorgeous looking dessert.
Okay, so Pete, I'm just going to use my fork. No, you don't need to do
Okay,
this,
very chefy technique to roll it like that, but very cool.
I want quite a bit of pasta on there. Then the hake. Yeah, and then you can just basically, the prawns just goes on top like that.
Fantastic. Another question: how come the paprika goes into the seasoned oil that you toss your pasta in? If you want to add that a little bit later, you can as a seasoning, not the end of the world. Oh no, you can't miss Vicky. Good thing you noticed the fennel fronds right at the last minute there. Fantastic stuff, Rube. That is looking absolutely stunning.
Okay, and then obviously this is, for me, what makes this dish is the sauce. So that goes nicely over the pasta. Yeah. Remember, we try to crisp up the skin of the fish, so I'm not going to actually put the sauce over the fish skin. And I'm a sauce guy, so I put a lot of sauce on.
Nothing wrong with a lot of sauce, especially not one as delicious as that.
Okay, and then, just to finish it off, maybe a little bit more pepper. If you want to, as we normally do, just a drizzle of olive oil, and that's it.
Fantastic. Well, I don't know about you guys, but that looks...
I'll show it here.
Oh, look at that. That looks absolutely scrumptious, Rube. I have to say, that looks fantastic. Thank you all for your comments and making this as interactive as we possibly can. Dude, we'll see you when we see you, my man, Rube. Thanks very much.